Hi there, known genius Elon Musk here, full of good ideas that always work out. Tell me, wouldn't it be epic to live on a Mars colony? Life on the Red Frontier. What could be more le epic Reddit 420 Keanu Reeves than that? But just what is a Mars colony? Well, it's a colony on Mars. It's the reason why SpaceX exists in the first place, and they are already working on it. The establishment of the colony itself, together with a lunar base, is scheduled for 2022, as announced in 2017. Following 5 years of feverish work, the project is already in the CGI rendering stage. The colony will feature cool surface domes, a ton of solar panels, and a remote-controlled self-destruct mechanism in case colonists try to unionize. Join us on this exciting suicide mission which doesn't have any practical goals or justifications beyond lol, we're on Mars. Yeah. A Mars colony is an extremely stupid and dangerous idea, and it will be for the foreseeable future. And I'm here to explain why. If you are excited about a Mars colony, chances are it's because of Elon Musk. People like Elon Musk, who pay millions of dollars to market themselves as real-life Tony Starks, have managed to convince a lot of people that our level of technology is far more advanced than it actually is. I call this the Marvel effect, since their movies do the exact same thing. Don't tell me that when you first saw the SHIELD helicarrier, you didn't think it was kinda sorta possible to build in real life with our existing technology. And don't get me wrong, we have come a long way in terms of what we can accomplish, but colonizing Mars, let alone fucking terraforming, is still out of our reach. But even if we had the technology to reliably colonize Mars right now, doing so still wouldn't make a lick of sense. And so throughout the video we'll be considering the following points: the logistics of getting to Mars, the potential justifications for a colony, the practical problems of living on Mars, the psychological effects on colonists, fucking terraforming, better alternatives to Mars, and a mystery point, codename Absolute Trainwreck. And I find the psychological effect especially concerning. Your mental health and Mars aren't exactly a match made in heaven. Exercising mental hygiene is hard enough on Earth, but thankfully, Fabulous is an app that can help you do just that. The sponsor of today's video, Fabulous is your digital coach, a happiness trainer so to speak. It's the #1 self-care app out there to help you build better habits and achieve your goals. Fabulous really helped me maintain my mental health after reading about Elon Musk's Mars-related ideas. Based on behavioral science, it helps you develop great, healthy habits and routines, backed up by science, real science, for a healthier, more productive and fulfilling lifestyle. The app will help you create your own rituals, the small steps that lead to big changes. The two main ways to use the app are habit tracking and dedicated programs. In habit tracking, you can choose from 100+ recommended habits, or you can create your own. Fabulous then lets you build these habits with gentle reminders and content based on behavioral science. Dedicated programs help you achieve your well-being goals over the course of several weeks. The new habits you pick up can be added to your daily routine if you so choose. The app even sends you nice letters, weekly reviews, and monthly self-care checklists. And how nice is that? With the premium version, you can build and improve an unlimited number of habits in your routines, and you have access to all programs and exercises. Start building your ideal daily routine. The first 500 people who click the link will get 25% off their Fabulous subscription. Thank you for checking out Fabulous. Ads like this help support what I do. And now, back to the video. Let's get started. Problem number 1. The logistics of getting there. The average distance between Earth and Mars is about 230 million kilometers. It's average because the distance constantly varies. Earth and Mars don't orbit the Sun at the same speed, so you can't just launch a spacecraft willy-nilly. You have to time it right in a so-called launch window, so the trip is as short as possible. This launch window is about 30 days, occurring every 26 months. Launching in this window means that the trip to Mars will only take 7 to 9 months. The logistical implications of this are of course pretty severe. If a resupply mission fails for whatever reason, you're potentially looking at a more than 2-year delay of supplies. Not to mention the risk of something going wrong during landing. Now recently the rate of failure for Mars missions seems to be lower, but compared to a Mars colony, those are very simple missions where you aren't trying to land years worth of supplies or actual colonists. For me, this would mean sending twice or even 3 times the amount of needed supplies at the same time for a Mars colony, with separate transportation just in case 1 or even 2 of them crash lands or something. Of course, cargo can stay in space for longer, so I can imagine you could also pre-launch a whole lot of cargo ships even outside of the launch window, in a way that they would reach Mars at predetermined times. But this is still suboptimal. Unmanned missions can afford the risk of failure, manned missions cannot. Nothing can go wrong, which means lots of fail-safes, lots of backup, consequently the costs will be horrendous. And for what? Let's take a look at the potential justifications for a Mars colony. And the problem is, there are none. Discounting vagaries like it's for science or the ATIQ lol we're on Mars, currently we have absolutely no reason to be there in person. There are no valuables to extract in large quantities, facilities, but even if there were, shipping them back to Earth would make it the most unprofitable venture in human history. In terms of science, there is not much humans could do that rovers can't. Mars is a rock desert. There is not much opportunity to be productive. Now, overpopulation and escaping climate change are reasons people sometimes bring up in favor of colonizing Mars, and both are rather stupid. First off, with appropriate planning and technology, Earth can support vastly more people. Overpopulation is only a problem with our current, wasteful spacesuits and inefficient food production. If we fixed those, with the magic of science, overpopulation would stop being a problem. If you expanded the population density of the Netherlands to the planet's entire land surface, you could, theoretically, house 75 billion people. Or even if we take half of that, that's still 38 billion, about 5 times the Earth's current population. But if you insist on decreasing the Earth's population through a Mars colony, realistically, you'll have decreased it by about 50, and it only costs you $40 billion per person. So if you want to affect the overpopulation problem, instead of assembling a colonization mission to Mars, you would achieve more by bulk ordering condoms and handing them out on a street corner for free. As for climate change, people, including Elon Musk, make it sound like Mars would be humanity's plan B in case of a climate disaster on Earth. But by humanity, Elon actually means the select few, aka the top 1%. What, you thought you would be on the evacuation rocket? Even assuming we can put together a city-sized, functional colony on Mars and we can evacuate, say, 1 million people via rockets, those seats will be distributed based on leverage. You will be on the rocket if you can buy, lobby, or otherwise force your way onto it. And while there are only a few thousand billionaires out there are plenty of millionaires to go around, more than willing to escape the planet in case of a global catastrophe. Humanity's so-called Plan B in case of a climate disaster on Earth would just be a rescue operation for the planet's ruling class, nothing more. But even if the ruling class or anyone else made it there, soon the harsh reality would start setting in. Namely, the problems with living on Mars. Mars is a kind of orange hell for human beings with a wide range of dying opportunities available to you. Martian atmospheric pressure is less than 1% that of Earth, which means a very thin atmosphere, which means harmful solar radiation and micrometeorites. Tiny stones flying like bullets aimed at buildings and your pressure suit's visor. Moreover, on Earth, the coldest temperature ever recorded was -89 Celsius, measured in the Arctic. On Mars, temperatures often go below -120. Even if you have a warm period, the thin atmosphere just won't retain any heat. Mars's outer core is also frozen solid, meaning no dynamo effect, meaning no magnetic shield, meaning hazardous levels of cosmic radiation. Even if you dig in to avoid said radiation, colonists will be exposed to higher than average rates for the rest of their lives. That means after some years, rates of cancer will be through the roof. In addition, gravity is 1/3 that of Earth, so even though you would be able to lift heavy things and bound around, thanks for the tape Elon, there's no telling what health problems low gravity would cause. The longest stay in microgravity so far is less than a year. Beyond that, we can only extrapolate. How would the low gravity of Mars affect pregnancies or your cardiovascular system? Who wants to be the first lucky one to find out? In light of these dangers, as far as I can tell, pretty CGI and sleek domes on the Martian surface are complete bullshit, unless you're planning on dying. But if you aren't, your only option is to dig in and live the rest of your life in a Martian underground bunker, only coming out occasionally when there isn't a solar flare blanketing the surface with dangerous levels of radiation. The wide variety of lethal dangers, plus being cramped together in a small underground bunker with dozens of others for the rest of your life, will surely do wonders for your mental health, by the way. And let's talk about that, the psychological effects on colonists. Now, some people might say, we cannot tell for certain what the mental health effects on the colonists would be because there is simply no such precedent. And they would be wrong to say that. We absolutely have precedent, and it's not looking too good. Consider this Quartz article titled, "It's completely ridiculous to think that humans could live on Mars." In this article, there's a useful snippet we will now read together. Despite having a completely breathable atmosphere and plenty of fresh water, Antarctica has no permanent residents. Nobody wants to live there. Scientists who work at Arctic bases suffer from a mental health disorder called winter over syndrome, characterized by symptoms such as depression, irritability, aggressive behavior, insomnia, memory deficits, and the occurrence of mild fugue states known as the Antarctic stare. Since it must be a bit like living with a colony of zombies, it's no wonder that they want to stay drunk all winter. Imagine this, but without the atmosphere outside, plus all the deadly hazards, the thought that you won't be going home ever again, and the fact that your lives are constantly on a knife's edge, because if your life support systems fail, there won't be any rescue operations. In such conditions, all colonists would be varying degrees of insane after a month. If just one of them starts a fire, sabotages the life support system, or opens the airlock, everyone will be dead. Now, these mental health problems are caused by Mars being Mars, a hazardous rock desert. But what if we could change that? Turn this dead planet into Earth 2.0. So let's talk about fucking terraforming. Okay, first off, let's get the obvious out of the way. As things currently stand, terraforming Mars is
fucking magic.
We do not have the resources or technology to terraform a planet, despite what Elon Musk would want you to believe. That's more of that Marvel effect, I guess. From the SpaceX website, it's a little cold, but we can warm it up. Presumably Elon will press the magic big brain science button and Mars will just get warmer. The number one thing you would need to do on Mars is to create an atmosphere. But, according to NASA, if you combine all sources of greenhouse gases on Mars, you would end up with an atmosphere 6.9% that of Earth, 93.1% short of your goal. Nuking the Martian ice caps, as suggested by countless Reddit and Twitter experts, would net you 1.2% of Earth's atmosphere. Without an Earth-like atmosphere, there is not much else you can do, and this would only be the first hurdle to overcome. Terraforming is something we just don't have the technology or resources for. Even with our current level of advancement, terraforming to us is like traffic engineering to Elon Musk, or basic empathy for his fellow human beings, or not harassing employees sexually. But if that's the case, what else should we do? Let's look at some of the better alternatives to Mars. First off, a simple alternative for all the enthusiasts out there. If you want to try out what it would be like to live on a Mars colony, get together with your enthusiast friends and crowdfund a trip to Antarctica. That should curb all your enthusiasm within a few months. But suppose we are really serious about colonization, and why not? I think it's a good idea. So why not create a colony on the Moon first? The Moon has about 0% atmosphere compared to Mars' 0.6%, so as far as you're concerned, they're essentially the same. You'll have a much nicer view of space, and travel time is only 3 days instead of 7 to 9 months. If something goes wrong, you can go back to Earth, or at least have a panic module able to sustain you until help arrives. On the Moon, your internet latency is only 2.5 seconds instead of half an hour, and you don't have to deal with the soul-crushing realization that you'll never see your friends and family again. Having a permanent base on the Moon could also have actual justifications, like an observatory complex free of atmospheric interference, or a spaceport that could take advantage of the lower gravity, or space tourism facilities for rich assholes, or a massive solar panel installation that can beam back power to Earth, and so on. Some of these ideas are still highly theoretical, others are more feasible, but there is a good chance we'll be seeing at least one of them becoming reality within our lifetime. But what if you just can't let this whole Mars business go? If a moon colony isn't enough for you, you also want to terraform. Well, I have good news. There is a great opportunity for you to satisfy your scientism-oriented urges. Planet Earth is a great candidate for terraforming. There are vast areas on this planet that are unsuitable for large-scale human habitat. How about we practice by terraforming the Sahara Desert, and also making sure we don't kill the Amazon rainforest in the process? That would be a great first step, and it would benefit most of everyone. But that doesn't sound sci-fi enough, so Elon Musk will stick talking about Mars, because that's how you maintain the Tesla stock bubble. So as we can see, Mars colony plans are somewhere between complete absurdity and stock manipulation. But there is one last part of this video. The mystery segment promised early on. One last point to hammer home the true extent of the absurdity of the agitation around colonizing Mars. We need to talk about the lowest common denominator, on par with Nigerian prince email scams and low-effort NFTs. Mars One. Holy shit. And just what is Mars One? The project was announced in 2012. The goal? To establish a permanent colony on Mars by 2025 with volunteers who get a one-way ticket and will live out the rest of their lives on the planet. The project was headed by a guy named Bas Lansdorp. And no, that text box wasn't me. I took this picture straight from the official Mars One Twitter. Wow, I remember when other serious organizations like NASA used MS Paint for their promo material. Now you might be asking, who in the name of Jesus Rotary Christ would sign up for this? And the answer is, people who either have nothing to fear or nothing to lose. Usually the latter. 200,000 people to be precise, 100 of whom made it to the shortlist. Wife threatens divorce after her husband is considered for one-way trip to space. There is only a slim chance of Mr. Sullivan being selected to live on Mars, as just 24 people will be chosen, but his wife said he did not ask her opinion before completing the application form and said that she could not contemplate leaving her children. However, Mr. Sullivan says he loves his family more than Mars, but also wants to be the first to live on the red planet and make a name for himself. Wow, that's one way to get a divorce, I guess. I'm not going to show any names or faces, but looking through the list of applicants, their faces don't exactly scream balanced, happy life and healthy psychology. Now, as for the mission timeline of Mars One, well, you can find official but completely contradictory information online. The dates are just all over the place. Go figure. I'll just use the Wikipedia page and one of their official promotion videos. 2014, drafting mission concept studies, requesting proposals from aerospace companies, proof of concept for key technologies required. 2015, reducing applicant pool to 40. The candidate pool was reduced to 100. Okay. 2016, the first comms satellite and lander to demonstrate key technologies. One initial concept study by Lockheed Martin, lander, and Surrey satellite technology, orbiter, not funded nor designed. 2020, settlement components are set up on Mars. 2022, crew departure from Earth, and the first colonists would have arrived in 2023, with the second crew arriving by 2025, and by 2031 the colony would reach 20 colonists. One of the participants, though, has a story to tell. Former NASA researcher Joseph Roche signed up for selection to help further popularize space science. To his surprise, he ended up on the top 100 shortlist out of 200,000 applicants. The 200,000 figure was a lie. Worse, according to Roche, some of the leading contenders had simply bought their way into their positions and were being encouraged to donate appearance fees to Mars One. After passing each filter, applicants received points. The amounts were completely arbitrary, and applicants could get additional points by buying Mars One merchandise and through gifts and donations. Otherwise, Roche, despite being on the top 100 list of prospective Mars colonists, never met anyone from Mars One in person. The original plan was to conduct interviews at set locations and be tested for several days, which then got changed into a 10-minute Skype call. Medical examination for colonizing Mars had to be done by each applicant on their own at their local doctor. Otherwise, applicants had to fill out an online test and record a short video about themselves, which they had to upload to the Mars One website. The Skype interview came after, during which Mars One's chief medical officer quizzed you with questions from literature about Mars and the mission that Mars One had provided to all the applicants. It's some very serious selection process you got there. But for me personally, the absolute best part of Mars One is how financing was envisioned. So how was it envisioned? Well, of course, through a reality TV show. What? Yes, this was the actual plan for funding, televising the application process and then the colonists' day-to-day lives on Mars. Cool, so besides the overwhelming stress and psychological pressure of living on Mars with 19 others in a confined space, people also have to be on camera constantly to shoot a reality TV show to gain funding on which their survival depends. No pressure. And I'm sure nothing could ever go wrong with that. You know, filming people under extreme psychological pressure with deteriorating mental health. It's day 80 of the Live on Mars reality show, brought to you by Mars One. Over here we have John writing a manifesto on the wall with appears to be his own feces, having done intense research into makeshift ballistic weapons. In the hallway, Julie strangling Maria in a fit of primal animalistic rage. James is blackout drunk for the 75th consecutive day. Robert is hanging from the ceiling. So where is Mars One now? I'm sure they're working hard to. The company went bankrupt in 2019. Well, that's not unexpected. Humanity's hopes of colonizing planets have been dashed by this company that planned on colonizing Mars through a reality TV show. God damn, this was stupid. Anyway, so this was my video about a Mars colony and why it's a stupid idea, for the time being at least. And I thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I have a Patreon if you want to support me monetarily making this sort of content. And I'll be seeing you next time.